Hey guys, how's everybody going? Today I'm with Elise again, and we're going to talk about me. So that's always fun. Talking about yourself is always a great thing. So let's get started.
All right. So, one of the things that I was thinking about is that some people have asked about why you're in a wheelchair. And then the other thing that I thought would be interesting to talk about is for people who are curious, maybe kind of reach that point in a relationship where you're a little bit more than an acquaintance and you're curious about how someone ended up in a wheelchair, or with a disability of some sort. What is the appropriate way to ask that?
That's
And
a
then,
very good question, and there are several schools of thought about this one. First of all, I get the most questions from little kids, and when it comes to little kids, you have to forgive them first of all because they don't know any better, and also they're curious. And I think talking to them about your differences can be very educational, to know that not everybody's the same. Everybody's different, and everybody, lives different lives, and that's okay.
well, young kids come with no judgment. They just want to
Exactly,
know why you're
exactly.
different than me. Absolutely.
And so those are the first um, question askers. There are then the second school of thought is there are a lot of people who've had a traumatic injury, um, and they don't want to be asked time and time again why are you like that, or what's wrong with you, or why don't you like, why are you in a wheelchair, or all that kind of thing. And they become defensive and angry, and that's fine.
Well, in a way, wouldn't it be like someone saying to me, like, why is your hair brown? Like, right? It's part of who
Exactly,
you are. Like,
exactly.
if I didn't know you very well and you're asking me why I have brown hair, or
Why are you wearing glasses? I mean, like,
right,
nobody
right.
nobody has that. And so,
Kids do. Kids ask why I have purple hair sometimes.
well, yeah, sure, sure. Like I said before, kids
Right,
are
exactly.
are
No
off.
judgment.
Yeah,
Like,
kids are off this conversation because kids do their own thing.
yeah.
But when it comes to adults, it can be very tiring to be asked to tell your life story about that tragic thing that happened to you over and over again, and having to explain it over and over again. Um, that can be tough. However, I personally, in my own personal thing, so this is not a judgment. This is not anything. You do you. But I feel like the more people that ask me why I'm like that, or why I'm in a wheelchair, or whatever it is, hopefully not why I'm overweight, because I don't want to get into that. But if they're gonna ask me why I'm in a wheelchair, I think as long as it's not coming from a place of
Negativity.
negativity, I don't mind it, because I didn't really have a traumatic injury. I guess my mom was involved in a car accident when she was pregnant with me, and my head, I guess, hit the steering wheel or whatever, and that's why I'm like the way I am. That's why I have cerebral palsy. The
The
why
way you are, the way you
yeah,
are
yeah,
is
yeah,
a whole other
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Nothing to do with cerebral
The
palsy.
way I am is an essay. But no. So my head hit the steering wheel, and
In
at least
utero.
and in utero, and I was born in '75, so take that as you want, like whatever. Um, but I don't mind telling people I have cerebral palsy. And when it comes to children, I like to not go too deep, but to explain that I always say this, that my brain doesn't talk to my muscles correctly. And therefore, the lines get crossed and I can't, my head doesn't speak to my legs and arms correctly. That's the answer I usually give.
A great way of saying it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I mean, if somebody learns something about somebody in a wheelchair, at least that conversation's there, and you're not being ignored.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would rather have an uncomfortable conversation than have no conversation at all.
Yeah.
So that's my philosophy on that.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your early years. We're talking about not just learning about you, but we're here to help people understand processes and things
And
like that. So tell us about your experience early on.
well, I like I said, I was born in '75. That makes me 50 years old. And 50 years ago, things were a lot different. First, it was called Regional Center. Was called Crippled Children's Services, which I always find very interesting. Um, I was in a therapy for people with cerebral palsy at United Cerebral Palsy. Actually, I got my start on at United Cerebral Palsy. I met John Ritter. I was I tell everybody I was the poster boy for the United Cerebral Palsy Telethon back in the day.
When they actually had poster children, like you
When
were
they
on the
actually,
poster with John Ritter, who was
I yes, I have the
we'll have to
poster I was
post that
on.
up here.
I'll put it in the edit. Um, so that was sort of like my beginning. When I went to Project Mainstream, which was an early 504 project or program.
What they now call inclusive classrooms, right?
Sure, I'll take your word for it.
I think so.
Okay. But back then it was called Project Mainstream, and I was one of the first people to be what was included in what did you call non-disabled people?
A typical classroom.
Typical. So okay, yeah, I can tell you all about disability. I can't tell you about people who are not disabled. So I was one of the first people to be integrated into a non-disabled typical class.
And this is
And
with the school district, right?
well, no, this is just a regular private preschool
Okay.
called Magic Years in Northridge, which is, I think it's still around. So I went there and I was going to be placed in the next year coming up. And one of the mothers of a typical child learned that I was coming in. And she said, listen, if you're going to put that disabled person, I don't know if she used the word disabled, but if you're going to put that disabled person in the class, I'm going to leave. And, I'm not going to be part of the program or be part of your preschool anymore. And the principal said, okay, well, goodbye. we don't need you. We're happy to have Morris, me, as a student.
That's great to have that support. I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that was some sort of like grant that might have come through the school district or the state.
Well, no, it was just people being nice.
Yeah, it's great.
It was a private preschool. Anyway, so that's when I started. That was in '78, I guess. And then in in '80, I left California. Um, Personal problems with my parents. They got divorced, and my mom went to move to be with her parents, who lived in South Africa. So we lived in South Africa for about 5 years.
So what was it like being a disabled child in South Africa?
Well, I lived in a small town outside of Joburg, about 30 minutes away, called Krugersdorp. Actually, I lived in Drift, and the big town was Krugersdorp, and then the big city was Joburg. Um, we were lucky, and I don't know if you want to say lucky for this, but it so happened that in Krugersdorp there was a school for cerebral palsy, for children with cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a boarding school, but it was also a day school. And they kept wanting me to join the boarding school, but my mom fought it because she didn't like the politics of the school too much. But we stayed there for 5 years. This is back in 1980, so you can imagine things in South Africa were different. I was very young, so I didn't really understand the political ramifications of where I was, but that was that.
And then where did you go?
Then after that, I moved to England. I lived in London for about a year and a half. And I had national health, and they gave me my first power chair, which was a snail. But the staff
You had
was
to start off slow.
what?
You need to start off slow. You're a little bit of speed racer there, so.
Okay. I moved to England. I went to a public school, which in England, public school kids wear uniforms and private school kids don't.
Uh-huh.
So I had to wear a uniform. I was in the national health, the health system there, and they had given me my first power wheelchair. You with me so far?
I'm with you.
Okay. So I had my first power chair, which I loved, but it went really slow. It was a very slow chair. I don't think I knew it at the time because I didn't know how fast I could go.
Technology wasn't as good back then.
Technology was not at all as good. School was okay. I had an aide back in England. It was the only time I ever had an aide. So what an aide is basically a direct support professional, which is a DSP or a caretaker for children. So they walk around with you to all your classes and make sure help you take notes or help you with tests or help you with whatever. And they stick to you like glue.
I'm surprised you didn't have support in South Africa.
In South Africa, there was just a lot of, because it was a school for the handicapped.
Oh, so
There
it was
a
kind of
lot
built
of
into
staff.
the system.
Everybody was like around you all the time.
So they were trained to work with children with disability.
Yeah.
So here in London, you were trying to fit into a more traditional school environment.
More traditional social.
So like taking tests and all the writing and stuff would have been more
Well, I
challenging.
mean, I did that in South Africa too, but things were just different.
But yeah.
And in England, I was starting to have a little bit of social issues because I mean I had an adult woman following me around wherever I went, so it wasn't exactly you know the right atmosphere to be myself, which and
Were
actually
you like a middle school boy kind of thing?
yeah, and actually
Yeah.
I had a crush on my aide's daughter, who was like who she was my age, but um, yeah, that was also interesting. Um,
Hard to be a middle school boy with a woman following you around, huh?
yes, it was very difficult, very very difficult. Um,
Something that we don't think about very often, right? Like the social aspect of kids in school, and if they have support staff, like letting them just be themselves with other kids and being able to be like a young boy and make gross, disgusting jokes like they can't do in front of.
yeah, yeah, I think I was I didn't have my aide for lunchtime because I remember
That was
GI
probably
Joe.
her break, and you could eat
Yeah,
on your own.
and GI Joe was really popular at the time, and the English kids hadn't been exposed to GI Joe, so I was telling them all about it. And I remember I got two groups of people together, and I think I was trying to play war or something, and it got kind of violent. So I don't think my aide was there at the time,
That's fun.
because I remember I got in trouble for that.
When did you
um,
get to the United States? How old were you?
that was a year and a half later. So let's see, 85, 86, 87. Okay, you know what? So I missed the point. I think I left South Africa and I went to Boston. Spent 6 months there.
And then to London.
And then I went to San Antonio. Spent six
Oh,
months there. And I met this girl in Hebrew school. And when I left, the day I left, everybody wrote me a card. And on the card, she gave me a heart. And I got so upset because I'm like, I'm leaving now, and this girl drew a heart on my goodbye card, and like
oh.
I felt so upset. Um,
It's hard to be moving around a lot as a kid anyway, and then now you're a kid
yeah,
who is different than a lot of the other kids.
yeah, yeah. So that was interesting. Very very small Jewish community in San Antonio at the time.
Hmm.
Um, then I went to England. Then I stayed a year and a half in England. Then I moved to California.
And that's where you
Um,
spent the majority of your high school.
that's yeah, that's where I spent I got there at seventh grade. So I went from seventh grade until I
You're
left
still there.
Pierce College like 3 years later.
Yeah,
3 years after, whatever. And
still,
then
and you're still in California.
I came back. I went places in the
Oh, I
meantime, but
forgot you left and came back
yes, I left and came back just like
as
you
an
did.
adult.
Yeah, yeah. I left as an adult. So
And in between, got married, had a child.
yep, yep. So we'll get to that.
Sorry, I'm pushing ahead too far.
You are. It's okay.
So tell me
Um,
about how your high school went.
let's start with junior high. Junior high
Oh,
socially was very difficult. I felt like I wasn't on an island on my own. And I just started back with regional center and my CSC, my what is that called? Why can't I ever think of the words? Basically my social worker. There is a technical word for it, and
uh-huh.
I say it every day, but now I can't think of it. Of course.
Not your
And
CSC?
she was my CSC. Anyway, she was telling me that I was too obnoxious, and
Oh,
then
that's horrible.
yeah, and then I had to change how I was. But turns out she was right. But we won't go there. Um,
You
I
are
was
who you are.
I was a little obnoxious. Anyway, so at high school, I started making a little more friends. I started doing better in school, but not great. My grades were never really good. I never hit my potential because I later found out that I have ADHD. They didn't talk about ADHD until I left school. If they had, my grades would have been much better because my ADHD would have been treated. Um, but yeah, my ADHD affected me deeply in school, and it still affects me to this day. I'm constantly fighting um, procrastination and motivation and all those fights that everybody has. I think ADHD is more of a disability to me than cerebral palsy is sometimes.
Understandable.
It's a real like peanut buttery barrier. Like it gets you stuck and you can't. It feels like a warm bed and you feel comfortable and you don't really want to get out of bed even when you're not in bed, but you don't want to get out of that comfortable state that you're in. And I fight it all the time. I mean, I just before I started this video, I'm like, do I really want to do a video today? Can I just?
Then you have me to push you.
Yes, yes. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I have you. You have been
Pushing you since 1990 something.
90. Gosh, when was that? 90,
I don't know.
90, 91, I think.
A long time.
I was in 10th grade and you were in 7th. No, I was in 9th and you were in 7th. Yeah, that's when we met. You were in 7th grade.
Long
It's
time.
been a while. Yeah. So,
So you made it through high school, you graduated.
made it through high school. I graduated late. I had to go to adult school.
During high school, though, did you have a 504 or an IEP when we talk about helping people with services?
Once I got back to California, I had regular IEPs. So ever since junior high, I've been having IEPs. Until I graduated, of course. So yeah, and that was when I was talking to you about my CSC. That's when they would tell me, Morris, you need to stop being obnoxious. I think that might be why you're not getting as many friends as you'd like. Yeah, so.
Well, maybe you were just trying really hard.
I
But
was.
but I think that, so just so people know if they're working with their children, having an IEP or 504 to help set those goals. This is your your mom worked really hard for you and advocated for you a lot. And having that IEP or 504 is what gives you that legal standing to say, no, in our IEP, we agreed you can have, I don't know if you had this, Morris, because of how old we are, but now many children who are in a similar state as you are would have, instead of doing handwritten notes, they're allowed to use a Chromebook, or they're allowed to use voice text or something like that to take notes, things like that.
So that's something actually I didn't mention. Ever since I was in South Africa, instead of writing notes on paper and pencil, I had a typewriter. It was usually a Brother or a Canon. It was
like a word processor, a typewriter.
It was like an electronic typewriter word processor thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I did all my notes on, and it was early, so it had deletable. You could delete the word you just wrote. You can't go and delete a whole paragraph.
Yeah, so those were those fancy new word processors.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we had our laptops. Yeah.
It was so fancy back then, and I used to carry it in a little black case. I used to open it, and I felt so cool because I had this typewriter.
Yeah. So having those things in IEPs and 504 plans is really, it's an adaptation, right? So it's basically putting everybody on a level playing field. And when we talk about being inclusive and I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but it's giving everybody the same advantage.
And I remember, like, I was given extra time for tests. And in high school, I had this guy named Jack Goldsmith, who was like my disability guru, I guess. He worked there. But whenever I needed something, I would go to Jack, and he would get it done or get it organized. And he was crazy like me, so we got along really well. He's a really crazy guy. But that was in high school. He was a great help. And my mom still talks to him regularly because
That's awesome.
we got along really well.
So,
You know, you bring up the word 504 a lot, and I just want to say that I learned about the 504 about 3 years ago in 2022. Was that 3 years ago, 4 years, whatever? In 2022, when I started working for Momentum, I had no idea what the 504 was until I like somebody brought it up and I looked it up and I learned what I had no idea because we're not taught these things in high school.
no, unless you have an advocate who understands these things, so that's a lot of the work I do. But unless you have an advocate who understands these things, sometimes you'll work with a child and they'll say, okay, they don't qualify for an IEP. And if you don't know to ask for the 504, or if you don't have someone saying they don't qualify for an IEP, but let's get a 504. So a 504 plan won't give you as many services as an IEP, but they will still give you adaptations. It's just based on more of a lighter diagnosis. I don't like the word diagnosis because it might not be a diagnosis.
Yeah.
But like I worked with someone who has really bad anxiety, so we work on how the teacher's assignments are coming out and when things are due, and testing in a different space, things like that.
Yeah.
It's about making things equitable. That's the word I was looking for.
Before the 504, I read this book by this woman named Judy Heumann, and Judy Heumann in disability circles is sort of on Mount Rushmore of disabled people. She is if you want to learn about like disability advocacy and progress, go to Judy. She passed away a couple of years ago, but the mark she left on the disabled world is uncountable. And so I was reading her book, and she was talking about how she went to school as a grade school student, and it's worlds different. I'm not going to get into it because we don't have the time. Go read her book, but
I'll have to check it out.
it's a very different, dark experience that even I had. And I mean, my experience wasn't great, but
Yeah.
mine was worlds better than hers.
So you're I don't want to throw you off, but your time is running to the end. So do you want to share a little bit about your adult life and why you started this consultancy?
Yeah, sure. After high school, went to college. I went to Pierce College. Then I went to Santa Barbara. I was chasing this girl and it didn't work out with her. But whatever. But I went to college and I met somebody online who was living in Pennsylvania at the time. And we started talking. We got friendlier. We eventually got married. I went to live in Jersey because I wanted to be close to her. So a couple years later, we got married. Then we had a kid. And then a few years ago, we got a divorce. But then she became my DSP, which is it works.
Explain to people DSP if they don't know what that is.
Direct. So I brought it up earlier, but direct support professional, or caretaker, or aide, or whatever. So she's sort of like Elise and Stacy are sort of both my like um, intellectual aides or caretakers or whatever.
Conscious?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They both do a very similar thing. Stacy is a little more, can be a little more grumpy than Elise. But Elise has her moments. Um, but no. So we got married. I have a kid. She had a kid. We had a kid in 2004. I didn't give birth. She did.
Yeah. Give her
Yeah.
credit for that.
I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger. We had a kid in 2004, and he is now 21, and he is also my DSP. So he lives with me most of the time when he's not traveling around the world. And when he does live here, he's my DSP, and he is also a fantastic help.
And a college student.
And a college, he goes to UCLA now, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
Proud,
senior.
proud
He's a
dad
senior.
about to graduate college. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a senior in UCLA. And he finally says he's got some hard classes. So, yeah. So yeah. I mean, I've been through a lot. I've lived through a lot. I started when looking at my mom as an example, and I became my own example because, I mean, my ex started fighting with me. Not, I mean, in a good way. I mean, like, she started advocating for me once we were married, and all my friends, all my employees, I guess you could call them, are really good advocates for me. I really appreciate the support system that I have, including my independent facilitator, because they're just really good at their jobs. Everybody is. And I'm very lucky to have the support I do. However, there are a lot of people who don't have that support. And I want to be the support for people who don't have that. Because not everybody can have the perfect support system. And that's tough. And somebody needs to be there for them. Somebody needs to be there for the people who can't speak up for themselves.
So now you are officially an independent facilitator?
Yes, as of December 5th, I became a certified independent facilitator.
And you have your fabulous consulting business advocating for other people?
Yes, and I'm also a consultant, and I have a lot of disability side gigs, as well as I do graphic design and web design if anybody's interested.
Yeah.
And
I love that you're making these videos now so people can get more information without having to hire you. You know, you're putting that out there for everyone.
And that's the goal of these videos, is that I can help people learn a little bit more about the system they live inside. So yeah. Any other questions?
No, I think that's great for tonight. I think we should.
Okay.
Thanks for chatting with me. It's fun to go through the life of Morris.
Yes.
I'm
a fascinating person.
You are a fascinating person. You really are.
We haven't even touched the surface.
We haven't gotten very far deep. I don't know that we want to go there on these videos, but if anyone wants to get to know you further, that's all on them.
Also, I'm a big board gamer and miniature gamer and tabletop gamer if anybody's interested or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Have a good night. Goodbye, everybody.
See you later. Bye-bye. Great seeing you.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Yeah, do that.